Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters and viewers and friends of Ikra TV. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I'm your host Iqbal Bana. I come into your homes every week, week in and week out, trying to bring to you something that I hope will be of interest to you and something that affects your lives and my lives and everybody else's lives. As I'm sure you will have seen what has happened in Pakistan, the devastation that has been caused by these torrential rains is the subject of tonight's episode. I was going to have, as I said last week, Naz Shah, who was supposed to be coming on this program. We're going to talk about the Conservative Party leadership election campaign and whoever wins, how the winner is likely to affect our lives on a day-to-day basis. Unfortunately, Naz, or fortunately, Naz, because of what has happened in Pakistan, has been asked to go to Pakistan, so she's flown there today and therefore could not be with me. May Allah take her safely and may Allah give her the strength to help the people of Pakistan in any way she can. And may I ask everybody who is watching to also pray for the people of Pakistan. So today's program, I've had to obviously completely change. And last night when Naz told me that she couldn't make it because she was having to go to Pakistan, I thought I'd keep the theme of what is happening in Pakistan for today's show. And I have today with me some really eminent guests, that one of whom I have known for nearly 40 years. He's just reminded me. He's reminded me, but I don't want to remember, because when I saw him 40 years ago, he looked the same as he does today. If you saw me 40 years ago, you wouldn't believe that I'm the same man that I am today. And that is my dear old friend. I've seen him after a long time, Arshad Javed, who's a well-known person in Bradford, an entrepreneur who's been very active in the past with all sorts of initiatives to try and help uplift the community in the business, in the private sector, in the public sector, etc. And he was chair of the ATL organization, which was very well known in Bradford circles, and not only in Bradford circles, but around the country as well, for the initiatives that they developed. Supporting and alongside him is Tasneem Hassan, who is one of the local people who has worked very closely with some of the charities and who is connected to Pakistan and has got a lot of knowledge and information about what is currently happening as well, and Arshad has as well. So I'm really grateful to them for coming and joining me today and accepting this very short notice, this invitation, because as you will have seen on your screens, whatever channel you watch, there is nowhere you would have failed to notice what has happened. The utter devastation that has been taking place in Pakistan, the floods, the destruction of people's houses and homes and their livelihoods is absolutely unimaginable. And this is something that has affected them so badly that over 1,000 people have lost their lives. I mean, somebody sent me a video that I couldn't watch about this baby who they say is possibly born in the river while the mother was drowning and came to the edge of the shore, while the suggestion is that in the process the mother has possibly passed away and the baby being rescued. These tragedies we've seen happening in Pakistan live in front of our eyes, and it's something that has affected many, many people, even those who live thousands of miles away, because they have still strong connections with the country of Pakistan. So I want to spend this hour talking to my two guests in particular, and if you want to ring in and share your thoughts and your ideas, please feel free to do so. You have the number on the screen, but I'll remind you again, it's 01274 214 299, 01274 214 299. Perhaps you have been affected, your family has been affected, and you can tell us, how they've been affected and what sort of help and support they need. So can I just welcome Arshad Sahab, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Tasneem, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. For you, you've been on this channel before. Yeah. Arshad Sahab is our first time, so really, really welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Obviously, Ikra TV is not only a TV channel, but it's a major charity organization as well. And they've been running charity appeals for Pakistan, like all other TV channels and all other charities have been doing. And I'm sure, you'll be doing something as well. We talk about it. But can you give us what is the latest happening in Pakistan? Because they say that this is the beginning of something worse to come. Because is it the monsoon season hasn't really started yet?
I'll just give you a brief history. Floods is not something new to Pakistan. Since the beginning, there have been floods. And I think every time when floods come, it brings more devastation, and it's on huge scale. What I can remember from my childhood memory, 2003 flood, 2001, 2005, 95 flood was very bad, and I think the worst flood I have seen, 2010 flood, where more than 2,000 people died and 20 million people were homeless, without home. And it takes time, to rebuild things. But this time, I think dams broken, the river floods, it has wiped the whole villages. So the devastation is quite bad this time. And I think people don't have, I've heard more than 1,000 people killed by the flood, heavy rain, and they're still having, I think the rain, the main reason is rain, and the other reason, which is that from India, the rivers, all they come to Pakistan, so all the water, gushing water, and then it's just destroy all the villages. So there are reasons behind it, but I think this time it's worse. It's quite bad. And the other thing, as I was talking before, and now we have social media. I think 10 years ago we didn't have social media, it wasn't very strong, but now we are getting the glimpse as it is happening. It's not that the news channels not accessing, it's just the people there, they have the mobile phone in their hands.
We used to rely on the news channels
before we used to rely, if they have access, they can film, and then they can give the news. But now the time has changed. People there, they are telling their own stories or stories of their loved one. They're just taking the videos and sending it straight, and
obviously we've heard about the hunger, because there's no food available, there's no medication available. Ashir, what are the sort of main issues that the country is grappling with at the moment?
I think from the news that I've been hearing, and it has been sort of like reported, although everything has taken kind of like a big push, floods and rains due to climate change, and over kind of like that has been things have been affected all over the world.
Yes, definitely.
You have wildfires, you have floods, you have different parts of the world, like the heat that we've experienced in this country and in Europe is unprecedented. We've never had such hot summers, although short spells, and drought now. So many counties of England and Wales, there's a water ban that you can't use access water.
Over there we got the opposite.
Exactly. So
do you think this is to do with climate change as well?
I think definitely.
All right, okay.
I think this is definitely because the frequency of these events taking place all over the world is kind of like increasing.
Right.
So whereas we had floods or disasters due to the climate less frequently, now they're happening more frequently, and they're kind of like raising their heads in different parts of the world. And obviously in countries like Pakistan and a lot of the other so-called underdeveloped countries, whenever you have a situation of this nature, the impact is huge. Because the infrastructure is not there, the houses are not built with any kind of regard or kind of like a foresight that this might happen. Then the roads and the bridges are not strong enough. So although those structures are made and a lot of investment has gone into them over the years, but when a disaster like this happens, what you have is that a lot of those things, they either give in, they collapse, and then the disaster is magnified. You could have a disaster of this nature, not maybe to this extent, in a European country or in a more developed kind of like North American country. The devastation would not be as bad. Because the infrastructure is not there, because the warning system in terms of letting the people know that this is coming, and taking precautionary measures, all those things are kind of like lacking. The impact is huge. So
this has been happening for a few weeks, I've been told.
As far as
the rain season has been happening for a few weeks.
Definitely.
So you're saying the preparedness was not there.
From my point of view, the warning systems are not in place,
right.
And therefore the precautionary measures are not taken in time. which means that the impact is always exaggerated. Whereas, you know, if people knew and they could take some measures, you know, with the help of the authorities, maybe the impact would not have been so bad.
They may have protected themselves.
They weren't protected. So, but the devastation in this particular event is so huge that a lot of the people, a lot of the commentators that I've heard and, you know, things that I've been reading, and that this is unprecedented. We have not had the previous floods and the earthquakes have wreaked havoc, but this is at a different scale.
Right.
In terms of literally, this is not restricted to one part of Pakistan. So you have Balochistan is affected, you have Sindh that is affected, Punjab is affected, KPK is affected. My family comes from KPK.
Right.
So in the 2011 floods, we reside in a small city called Nashara, which is not very far from Peshawar. Last time, 2011, when the flood.
I've been there.
Okay, fine. It's a beautiful little town. It's a garrison town, so they have army bases there as well. It's a beautiful place. However, it's very close to the river, and whenever the river Kabul overflows, the water comes into the city.
Right.
So my family, you know, my family members were affected.
So are they affected at this moment in time?
Yes,
how are they safe? Are they okay?
They are safe. They are safe, but they've had to vacate their houses and go, and 7-8 families living in one house, which is at a slightly higher.
So they moved to higher ground.
Yeah, higher ground. But they've had to move all the furniture from the ground floor, premises of their houses onto upper floors. Previously, in 2011, when the floods came, literally anything that was left downstairs was devastated.
Right.
And you know, they lost furniture, they lost belongings, things just like was blown away, you know, washed away by the flood waters. And then even after the flood waters had kind of like receded, you know, the dampness and the smell and the stench that was left in the properties for months. You know, it was a huge effort for people to kind of like, you know, restore their accommodations back to where they could live in them again.
Right.
So this is obviously, I'm talking about relatively middle class, well-to-do, you know, solid houses and stuff like that. But the devastation, as you see on TV, is millions of people who were living in mud houses or weaker structures. They've all been decimated. They've all been decimated. So some estimates are saying that up to 30 million people will be affected, which is like half the Britain's population.
Well, I mean, obviously, women and children will be, and the elderly will be affected, sort of, you know, exponentially even more, right? I mean, how are people coping at the moment? I mean, food shortages are there. We've seen TV pictures where people are scrambling for food. Aid agencies are trying to get food to them, but, you know, they can't cope because of the demand, the number of people who are asking for the food. How are people managing at this moment in time? I mean, I just can't imagine myself in that situation.
Well, I just, brother said about Nowshera. I think Nowshera is slightly lucky in the sense that their commissioner is working. I was just watching the news that she made an effort to take the people out of their houses and evacuate the city. So people are safe, but in some places they didn't have the chance, and obviously efforts were not being made. The people could leave the place and their livelihood. Or I watched that their livestock, it's gone, all the animals, because people rely, in village especially, they rely, it is their earning, and livestock gone, their houses gone. I mean, women, I was just, one charity organization's head was saying the women were there with inadequate clothes, basically. So if you see the hierarchy of need, food, clothing, shelter, and then after flood there are different kind of infectious diseases to cope with them, medication, and there are loads of things to, and it will take months to rebuild,
years,
probably years to rebuild the whole thing, and so I think.
And most of these areas are farming areas, aren't they? Where
Yeah.
people have got farms, and the farms have been washed away.
Yes.
All the sort of products, produce has gone as well.
Food-wise, I've been hearing because all the vegetables and crops they're being destroyed. So even in cities, they are struggling to get the fresh vegetables. Either they are very sky-high prices they are selling. So think about the poor people, how they're going to manage, who don't have anything left for them.
And obviously, you've been hearing firsthand from two eminent people who have, getting news from there and listening and aware of what is going on. And I'm sure our audience also will be familiar with everything that's going on. As the sister said, we now live in the world of the social media. Instantly pictures are transmitted around the world. So, we don't need to tell you what is going on. You all know what is happening. The question is, what can we do about it? Thousands of miles away, how can we help and assist these unfortunate people, who found themselves in this situation? Now, as you will see, Al-Khair is already started the massive charity appeal that they do, and you can contribute to that appeal, and you can make sure that you can contribute in any way you can. But there's other charitable organizations as well who are also are making the similar appeals as well, wanting to make sure that they can help out in any way they can. And in Bradford, which has got a very large Pakistani population community, which has been settled here for over 65 years, nearly 70 years, even the second and third and fourth generation have got still very strong connections with their mother country of Pakistan, and therefore they are equally emotionally affected when they see the pictures of what is happening over there. And even those who are non-Pakistanis, on a human level, people like others, like myself and others, we also will be affected by what we see. Sometimes when people send me the videos, I don't have the strength to see it, at all. So let me show you some of the pictures that we have seen, and you can see it for yourself. I mean, nobody can survive this form of devastation. And I know Arshad Saab said, we're seeing, the devastation in this country. But even if you remember in America, in Germany earlier this year, they had massive floods, and they are strongly built sort of economies. Their buildings are really strong, and they could not survive those floods. You could see cars and trucks and houses. We saw that in Spain and Italy, and even in America when Hurricane Katrina came, we could see the devastation that caused. I mean, some of the pictures of how people are trying to rescue those stranded in these fast-moving waters are absolutely devastating. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what can we do? As I said, Al-Khair Foundation and Iqra TV have already started the campaign, like all the other TV channels and other charities as well. And both these colleagues of mine are also heavily engaged in raising funds for the people of Pakistan. So I'm going to ask them, what sort of activities are you doing, fundraising activity? Because, I've had people say to me, if you know how to contribute, where to contribute, let us know. They want to give me money so I can pass it on to the right people. Now, the only reason why I was in that part of the world, being of African origin, I had never dreamt of going to Pakistan. I never thought I'd end up in India in my life, except as a tourist maybe. But the floods in 2001, me and a couple of friends, Gujarati friends, and one Pakistani friend, raised £130,000 in Batley in the Gujarati community, which we gave to Islamic Relief. So the following year, Islamic Relief said to us, please, can you come with us? We'll show you how the money was spent. And although I was reluctant to go, I said, look, we're going to need the money. We trust you. I'm sure we don't need to go there and have a look at it. But they insisted. And that's the only reason I ended up over there. Well, my regret is that I only went there for 6 days. I wish I'd gone there for longer and had a better look at the country. But the parts that I saw was absolutely amazingly beautiful. And I've said this to my Pakistani friends on many, many occasions, that Pakistan is naturally resource rich, and it's absolutely beautiful. Allah has blessed it, apart from this devastation that occurs to Pakistan every now and then. So I mean, in terms of infrastructure, obviously that's just another subject. But in terms of what are we doing locally in the Bradford and surrounding regions? We're surrounded by people of good heart. Not just being Pakistani, but even other non-Pakistanis, non-Muslims are equally concerned about what is happening there.
So
I've just been told that Prince Charles donated to Islamic Relief as well,
oh, that's
and the Queen has
okay.
sent a message as well.
Mm.
For the yeah. So what are we doing locally that you can share with us?
I've been part of several groups. I am I'm pediatric occupational therapist as well as I work for Bradford Council, and I'm part of some groups where sisters doing activities, and through them I have collected money and I've sent directly to the people who are working on ground there.
Right.
And that's how I happen to know the scale of devastation, because they sent me videos and they showed me how bad, especially I think initially Tonsa, it's a place in south of Punjab, it drowned, and then later on now KPK and other areas affected. And our organization, I'm vice chairperson of Yorkshire Adabi Forum.
Oh, child.
Yes,
The
because
Mushaira group.
I write poetry.
Oh,
Yes,
mashallah, very
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So that's how, and in conjunction with other charity organizations, we are organizing an event on Saturday, 3rd of September at Majestic, to raise funds. And apart from the on other scales, I've been involved and donated money. So this is how we've been, and I think we have to continue with this. It's not something just for will be resolved within weeks. As I said earlier, it will take. It's going to take very long time. Yes. But the other thing is, because there are loads of charities, I think we need to find a connect. So they are well connected and doing in a systematic way. And the charity, I think I would like to mention the name Al Khidmat is on a wide scale. Pakistan, they're always at the front of doing charity work. I
think they're all there. I mean, I saw Muslim Hands on BBC News this morning. Al Khair is there, Islamic Relief is there, so One Nation is there, Ummah Welfare Trust is there. All some of the big charities, and even the smaller ones.
Because they are big charities, I think they're more, rather than individual, they I think they're more aware of, and because their work is systematic, I think it's better.
And they have the people in place.
People in place to doing the work.
The people who are there on the ground, Rashid Saab, I mean, they may be affected by these floods, and their families are affected by it. So are there still people there who can deliver? Because one of the things you mentioned, which is true, is when something like this happens, you don't have the products there. You don't have the blankets, you don't have the medication, you don't have the atta, you don't have the oil. So how do we access all that stuff?
I think obviously the event that Tasneem has mentioned, that's taking place on Saturday, this coming Saturday, 3rd of September, at the Majestic in Bradford. I think the idea behind that is obviously to make people more aware, and we believe that grief or tragedy shared is grief or tragedy halved.
Definitely.
So when we can come together, those of us who will be able to join us on that day on Saturday in the event, at least we can share our experiences. Like I've said to you that my personal family is affected. There will be other people there as well, and maybe we can compare notes and see as to what we can do at that level, at our family level. More than that, obviously, it's a way of encouraging people to do more. We are all doing. I'm sure that everyone watching this event or this.
I hope that if you can't do anything else, come dua to kar sakte.
Dua to kar sakte. Obviously, I think we all need to aim at doing whatever we can. If we can help by making dua, sometimes that is the most effective,
more powerful.
More powerful. And if you can do by helping somebody directly because you know someone, that is fantastic. Because at the end of the day, we will not be asked for how much you did, but what you did.
Exactly.
So if we could play our part in small part in this huge tragedy, 30 million people, I said to you, is half the population of this country.
Exactly.
Right. So it's not something that a few £100,000 or a few million pounds, and this disaster is not going to be taken care of within the next 2 weeks. That you collect money, you send it, everything is taken care of. Yeah.
I think Arshad Saab has made a very important point, and that is that every one of us, in a small way or a big way, we can all contribute. If the least we can do is make dua for them. These people are suffering really, really badly, as you've seen from the pictures. Not just the ones that we've shown you today, but all the social media pictures as well. We're going for a break. Don't go away. Inshallah, we'll be back very soon, and we'll talk more about some of the things that we can do to try and help our less fortunate brothers and sisters back home in Pakistan. Inshallah, we'll be back soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.